Welcome back. Next company to present at the NWR conference is Kalamazoo Resources. It's a gold exploration company with major assets, fortuitously, in two of the most sought-after gold provinces in the world, both being the Pilbara in WA and in the Victorian Goldfields. The company has a multi-focus strategy focus to find the next world-class deposit in Victorian Goldfields, but also to expand the 1.65 million ounce Ashburton Gold Project that has recently acquired in the Pilbara. Today we'll be hearing from the Kalamazoo's CEO and Chairman, Mr. Luke Reiner, who has a legal background, and as well from a director and the Ashburton project manager, Paul Adams, who is a geologist by background. So over to you, Luke, and to Paul for an update on Kalamazoo.
Thanks very much, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. And firstly, I'd just like to thank NWR for putting on this virtual mining conference. Paul and myself appreciate the opportunity to actually provide you with an update today on our recent progress and what I'm sure will be a very busy and successful 2021 for Kalamazoo. The usual forward-looking statements, and I just draw your attention to our various ASX announcements, which provide further details in regard to this presentation today. Look, as Mark said, I think we're very unique for an Australian gold explorer in that we've got major assets in both the Victorian and Pilbara goldfields, which are two of the most highly rated gold provinces in the world today. As a result of Kirkland Lake's story, Victoria now is going through its second gold rush, with 20 companies now exploring for gold today, and very significant Canadian interest. Fortunately for Kalamazoo, we became aware very early of the Fosterville success, and as first movers a couple of years ago, we acquired 100% of two of Victoria's major goldfields, being the Castlemaine and South Muckleford projects near Fosterville. Our view is that these locations and settings, which together have produced about 8 million ounces of historical production, are the right combination for a world-class discovery. And we've recently commenced our second drill program at Castlemaine, which I'll talk about in a moment. But in a major development, we purchased just a few months ago the Ashburton Gold Project from Northern Star, which has a total gold inventory of about 2 million ounces. We've now kicked off on a decent exploration and drilling program there, and with the aim to substantially increase the resource and progress development plans. In addition, we'll also be drilling shortly at the Sisters Gold Project in the Pilbara, which we believe is very highly prospective and is in the same geological setting as De Grey's world-class Hemi discovery. And Paul will provide an update on these projects shortly. So as you can see, we have 2 drilling programs now underway at our Victorian and Pilbara projects, and are planning for multiple drill programs in 2021, which is consistent with our strategy of creating significant shareholder value. Now, the all-important corporate snapshot. You can see from this chart on the left-hand side, we have a very tight share register with the top 5 shareholders controlling more than 50% of the stock. Following on from our first drilling program in Victoria in January this year, we were approached by Eric Sprott, the well-known Canadian gold investor, and Novo Resources. And they wanted to see if they could make a cornerstone investment in Kalamazoo. This was done at a 25% premium to our then share price. And they now each hold about 7% of our stock. In addition, there are a number of local and North American funds that are starting to appear on our register. Hot off the heels of his success at Spectrum Metals, Paul Adams is now heading our exploration team in WA. So in fact, we have 2 separate exploration teams in Victoria and Western Australia, and so are unaffected by any COVID-19 travel constraints. We have a very strong board and management team, and Quinton Henney from Novo is also assisting us as a technical advisor. Kalamazoo's got a current market cap today of about $85 million, and we're well funded with about $11 million of cash and receivables and an ongoing stream of options that are regularly providing us with a capital inflow. In addition, we recently announced that Novo has an option to farm into one of our smaller tenements near Castlemaine. And if that's exercised in the next couple of months, that'll see another $2 million of Novo shares issued to Kalamazoo. And I guess if you look at this chart on the right-hand side, our share price has been stepping up very nicely over the last 12 months. The Bendigo zone in Victoria, which is where we're focused on, it was one of the richest goldfields in the world, with more than 60 million ounces of gold produced in the 1850s and 90s. But what really sets it apart in our mind is that if you look at other world-class goldfields, is that in the Bendigo zone, it's the incredible high average grade of about 15 grams a tonne. However, I think as we all know, despite its rich history, the Victorian goldfields has been very much unloved for the last 150 years, But this has all changed in recent years with Kirkland Lake's fantastic discovery and mining success at Fosterville. And this has been amplified even more in recent times by the government tender for exploration leases surrounding Fosterville, which will be awarded early next year and which I'll mention later on. Our Castlemaine and South Muckleford projects, which you can see are at the bottom of this map, cover about 480 square kilometres, and between them produced historically about 8 million ounces of gold. However, in recent time, there's been very little exploration in our area. So we're looking to explore smarter and using new and innovative technologies that haven't been used previously. The interest level in Victoria now is very strong. And this is not just our view, but with a number of Canadian companies that have recently been picking up whatever ground's been left in the Bendigo zone. If we drill deeper into the Bendigo zone, you can see more details of the north-south major fault lines and the interpreted gold-bearing fluid flows that come up from deep. At both Castlemaine and South Muckleford, we have more than 30 kilometres of major fault structures, and we need to test these, and they're littered with literally thousands of workings and shafts from the 18th century. At Castlemaine alone, we have more than 2,000 shafts that have been mapped. And from this diagram, you can also see that the Murray Basin sand cover to the north in the yellow, and that's where a number of our competitors are exploring undercover, and also the granite intrusions, which are highlighted in pink, which are just to the north of our Castlemaine and Muckleford areas. Our strategy in Victoria is that we're focused on finding a large gold resource of 1 million ounce plus at a grade of more than 10 grams a tonne. Fortunately for us, our project areas have got the same age and geology of Bendigo and Fosterville to the north, so we think that holds us in good stead. At Castlemaine itself, there's 5.6 million ounces of gold was produced mainly in the 1850s, and is widely considered to have been the world's richest alluvial or shallow goldfield. And this is providing us with numerous brownfield walk-up drill targets. What's interesting from this area, though, is that apart from the one major underground operation at Castlemaine, being the Wattle Gully mine, that produced about 400,000 ounces at 11 gram, the hard rock or underground source for this incredibly rich alluvial or shallow goldfields has yet to be located. And this is reflected in our view by the fact that the average depth of drilling at Castlemaine is just 137 metres. So if you then, however, just go 10 kilometres to the west to our South Muckleford project, nearly all the gold produced there was from underground at a very high 28 grams a tonne. And of course, you just go to the north about 45 kilometres and you've got the incredibly rich Fosterville mine, which is now producing at 49 grams a tonne. And so it's this hard rock, high grade source at Castlemaine that is what we're now trying to attempt to locate. As there's only been limited modern exploration in Victoria in recent years, we're taking a smarter, more innovative approach by working with the CSIRO on a number of collaboration projects, as well as using multi-element downhole and surface geochem, ground magnetics, IP, LiDAR surveys, and 3D structural modelling. In March this year, we completed our first drill program and we had some good success, including one intersection of 1.42 metres at 260 grams. And that's what got Quinton Henny and Eric Sprott's attention. The Mustang prospect is just the first of 10 high priority drill targets we've identified for drilling over the next year or two. We're now currently drilling at the Lightning prospect, which commenced early October this year, just to the south of our early drilling at Mustang. This program's about to be about 2,500 metres, maybe a bit more, of diamond testing known historical areas. We're then going to move on to South Muckleford early next year, where we've lodged permits for a 7,000 metre RC drill program and in the process of doing the same for a 3,000 metre diamond program on ground which we consider to be highly prospective. And then we're going to move down to Wattle Gully and Wattle Gully South early next year, testing some very significant gold and soil anomalies that we've identified. At the Lightning prospect, we've seen that at Fosterville and certainly to a lesser extent at Wattle Gully, that the high grade lodes generally occur at what we call cross-cutting ramp structures. And these gold lodes are typically narrow, very high grade, and can extend for many lengths, many kilometres of strike length. And we've seen this at the Swan Zone, where the Kirkland Lake is mining its 2.5 million ounce reserve at an incredibly rich 49 grams a tonne. At the Lightning, we've started drilling there. It's on the edge of a pine plantation and contains extensive historical workings. The shafts, workings and infrastructure there indicate that the area was the subject of very substantial mining in the period 1850 to 1890. And it's reported that mining recoveries there were about 31 grams a tonne for over 23 years. And then finally, in regard to Victoria, I think we have all heard that in 2019, the Victorian government put out for tender 4 blocks of land surrounding the Fosterville mine. As you can imagine, there's been an enormous amount of interest in that, and we think that blocks 3 and 4 would be a very good fit for our portfolio. We certainly appreciate the widespread interest for these blocks. However, we believe we've lodged what we consider to be a very competitive bid. The government has advised that these will be awarded in early 2021. So then perhaps I might just throw over to Paul and get him to just talk a little bit about our Pilbara projects at the Ashburton and the Sisters.
Thanks very much, Luke, and welcome everybody. So this slide really shows you the extent of our projects in the Pilbara, and really front and centre. During this year, we acquired from Northern Star the 1.65 million ounce Ashburton Gold Project. It was Northern Star's assessment really that although the project had strong potential for both exploration and production, its location and size didn't really fit inside Northern Star's portfolio any longer, and that's even more the case after the Northern Star Saracen merger just recently. We consider that the opportunity to acquire the Ashburton Gold Project is another transformational event for us. We see significant potential here to further expand the existing resource and progress development plans from there. Located at the southern edge of the Pilbara, the project's actually only 40 kilometres from Paraburdoo. So, you know, with daily jet flights into Perth from Paraburdoo, it's hardly a location that is in the boondocks. But of course, as we know, the Pilbara has been subject to major gold activity with De Grey and Calidus, Capricorn and Novo, now all in advanced stages of developing their major gold projects. And it's our view that Kalamazoo could well be next. If you look at the next slide here, fortunately for us, as I say, you know, as Luke said earlier, it's located in WA and one of the best mining jurisdictions in the world at the moment. The immediate aim really is to substantially increase the oxide and sulphide resource with a systematic exploration program. And to achieve that, we've put together a pretty high top shelf team in order to do that. And it was obviously one of the first things that we had to do as we geared up for this program. We're now at a point where we've commenced our first our maiden drill program, and that'll consist of 7,000 metres of RC and diamond drilling. On the next slide, you can see that the mining tenements cover about 220,000 square kilometres in 7 mining exploration leases. The geological setting for the deposits is consisting a lot of interbedded sediments in the McGrath formation, and the gold is associated with massive sulphide dominated by pyrite and arsenical pyrite in particular. Coarse gold's also associated with quartz veining in the shear zones, or splays off the regionally important fault. When Northern Star acquired the project in 2010, it quickly expanded the resource from about 650,000 ounces to 1.65 million ounces over a 2-year period. And as you can see from the tenement plan, you know, the resources are spread over about 5 main deposits. However, there remain numerous brownfield and greenfield opportunities that remain untouched, and that's going to be a key focus for us going forward. There were 4 deposits that were mined about 20 years ago, being Mount Olympus, Waugh, Zeus and Peake. And you can drive really into the Mount Olympus pit floor, which you can appreciate is a very low strip ratio, with only one side of the hill being mined. And there's also excellent infrastructure on site. If you look at the current slide, that's an isometric view of our modelling that has been carried out at the Peake project. Peake recorded a historical production of 18,000 ounces, but it's 7 grams a tonne, so it's a relatively high-grade project. And current resources there are about 400,000 ounces at 3.4. Approximately 3,000 metres of RC and diamond drilling is now underway, and to follow up this historical high-grade sulphide drill intersections. particularly at the western end of the Peake pit, where we're trying to expand the known resource in that area. And the drilling is also there to target some high-grade oxide mineralisation. Obviously, we want to increase the amount of oxide resources at the project also. On the next slide, you can see our Waugh project. Again, another sort of isometric view looking to the north. The Waugh prospect recorded historical production of 67,000 ounces, again at a fairly high grade of 6 grams per tonne, and is a current resource of 68,000 at 3.6. Below the existing Waugh pit, the intercepts are significant, and mineralisation has reasonable thickness over 3 trend locations, and they're the areas that we're actually hitting at the moment with our RC program, and we believe there's excellent potential to discover down plunge mineralisation. Also at Connie's Find, which is located approximately 400 metres to the west of the Waugh pit, we've got surface gold anomalism extends over 250 metres in the northwest direction and parallel to the mineralised normal faults in the wall. So, you know, with previous drilling, we don't believe really tested that prospect for Waugh-style mineralisation at Connie's Find, and this is going to be another interesting target for us in our current program. Luke, do you want to just set the little video? We've got a little video here of about 1.5 minutes to gives you a lie on the land. And here we're seeing the Mount Olympus pit. You can see that you can drive straight into the pit floor on a level. This produced about 300,000 ounces, but it's got a current resource of just over 1 million at 2.2, and that's what we really want to expand in the course of the next 12 to 24 months. The extent of the mineralisation at Mount Olympus dips off to the east there. This is the Peake pit. It was a slot that was mined between 98 and 2004. So produced 18,000 ounces at 7 grams. And in the background there, we're going to come up to see a number of drill pads that we've put in over the course of the last couple of months to explore for extensive mineralisation to the west of the Peake pit. You can see those drill pads there. So the topography can be quite challenging, but we've got appropriately sized rigs to handle that. This next area here is the Waugh pit. Waugh pit looks a bit different to many of the others. You can see the stacked sediments there in the north wall. And the Waugh resource currently 600,000 tonnes at 3.6 for 68,000 ounces. Again, you can see the drill pads located on the northern side of that pit that we'll be drilling from. Okay, so we've hit the ground running. Since the acquisition, we've already completed our heritage surveys. We put in tracks and drill pads, obviously. We've updated the plant, the camp. Our aim is to really substantially increase the existing resource to well north of 2 million ounces. So over the next 12 months, we also want to progress potential development options, and we're not ruling out any particular option at the moment. And obviously the sulfide and oxide characterizations will require a separate sort of processing work. But some of the work that we'll do is obviously, reviewing Northern Star's earlier plans, and they aim to build 100,000 per ounce per annum CIL plant to treat the oxide resources, and then build a stage 2 sulfide plant. Those plans were obviously shelved back in 2013 when the Australian gold price dipped suddenly below 1,600, and it's really been put on the shelf ever since. But we believe there's an outstanding opportunity for us here. Gold price is now 70% higher than it was in 2013. But just quickly, the last couple of minutes, I want to talk a little bit about our other projects in the Pilbara. In particular, we'd like to mention the prospective Sisters Gold Project, which is about 45 kilometres to the southwest of De Grey's world-class Hemi discovery. And obviously, Hemi is going to be a very large deposit. It's situated along the same shear zones, the Waugh shear zone, and our project has never been drilled. We've now developed 5 initial drill targets at Sisters on soil sampling, airborne magnetics, hyperspectral imagery, high-resolution satellite photography, and ground truthing. So in the upcoming drill program, it's proposed that the Wattle Plains and Satirius prospects will be the first targets to be tested. The Wattle Plains prospect covers the most extensive and highest intensity gold in soil anomaly at the Sisters, consisting of about 1.2 kilometre long zone. Wattle Plains prospect is proposed to be tested by 11 lines or fences of RC drilling, about 49 drill holes, so about 100 metres deep for each of those. And those drilling fences will target 2 distinct trends of gold in soil anomalism. At the Satirius project, the prominent bullseye anomaly has been identified between 2 major granite bodies and is considered prospective as its intrusion, potentially intrusion-related target. So this is an intensely magnetic feature and coincides with some very good gold and silver in soil anomalies. I think Kalamazoo considers that this project could potentially be analogous to the thick intrusions hosted by the auriferous quartz veins at De Grey's Tower Island Gold Project. I think I'll now hand back to Luke, who can wrap up.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, thank you, Paul. Look, yes, so just to wrap up very quickly, we consider Kalamazoo to be very unique. It's been a very busy 12 months for us. The next 12 months are going to be just as busy. We've got some terrific projects in both WA and in Victoria. In Victoria, we're searching for the next Fosterville and are well placed for exploration and perhaps even tender success. And then in the Pilbara, the Ashburton project, as Paul mentioned, very transformational for us as we look to substantially increase the existing resource, well north of 2 million ounces. We're well funded, well supported, and we've got drilling across 3 of our projects over the coming months. So we'll certainly have some constant news flow. So certainly appreciate your interest and the support of NWR, and happy now to take any questions.
Luke and Paul, thanks very much for the update there on Kalamazoo. Some questions that have come in. We've the relationship with Novo that you have, that Kalamazoo now has. Are there any sort of plans to take that any further?
Well, certainly with Novo, we've got a JV now on one of our projects, obviously in Victoria, a smaller one. They do have a small interest in Kalamazoo, providing some great technical support. Interestingly, we're in both the same regions, both in the Pilbara and in Victoria. So look, they're providing some good support for us. We'll see how that plays out, though. Obviously, our focus is on the interests of all our shareholders, and we'll see how that plays.
Good answer. Just, I suppose, almost sort of simple, switching across to Ashburton. What's the, is there any potential to do anything further with Northern Star, given you acquired Ashburton from them? But also to the plans for Ashburton, how big does it have to get to take it to, if you like, to push the button and execute on the plans, whether they're the same or similar to the buffering we had?
You want me to answer that?
Oh, no, go on.
Look, whether Northern Star would be interested again, well, it depends how big we can make it, I guess, Mark. Their hurdle rate's just gone up a bit. But look, having said that, I think the key to this project for us and what we're trying to do increase the oxide resources by probably another 300,000-400,000 if we can do that, add that to the existing resource already in the oxide, and I think we've probably got a pretty reasonable CIL project there. The other opportunity for us is to look at the sulfide, and we're going to attack that in a slightly different way. There's been a lot of increase in technology over the last 10 to 15 years in sulfide treatment, and we intend to a number of aspects of sulfide treatment to unlock the value in that. if we can get that metallurgy right, you might well find that the project doesn't have to be that much bigger than what it is already, to be honest.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks, Paul. One final question that we've had is that given the company's growing portfolio of assets, how do you focus between, you're obviously disparate between Victoria and WA. How do you focus, how do you decide which best way to spend the dollars?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Mark. And look, we have to balance up, which projects deserve the capital. Fortunately, I guess because of COVID-19, we have put in two very distinct exploration teams, so we can manage that well. But look, we think both WA and Victoria are just as prospective. There's a lot of interest, obviously, out of North America and Victoria as well, and that's good for us as well. But I think with the success we've seen in the Pilbara just in the last probably 12 or 18 months, 3 or 4 projects, underway, obviously Hemi being world class, I think we're in a good position that we can actually give justice to both those programs. And if it means raising more capital and growing these businesses, that's exactly what we'll do.
I think that's the right and a very good answer. To Luke and to Paul, thank you very much to both of you for giving us the update today on Kalamazoo Resources. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.